Hey there guys, it's Takashawa with thematani.com. Today I'm joined by Hendrick Tallardar, and we're going to be taking a look at the War Thunder Ground Forces Open Beta.
Alright, so this is the Ground Forces Beta for World of... Wow, I almost said World of Tanks, but it's actually War Thunder. It's hard to imagine a Tanks game that isn't World of Tanks these days, isn't it?
It's been years, but we finally have a contender, and I gotta tell you, even from the get-go, you can really see that it's different. The big thing that does it for me is a perspective. It's a tighter, more close-in perspective.
The one thing I like that they did was it's more of an FPS feel, rather than World of Tanks is tactical, like I can zoom out and see more of the battle. This, you can't really zoom out as far as you could in World of Tanks, and I think that's a really good design decision because it makes you more focused on what your individual tank is doing.
I think it's a great way to differentiate the game, and I think the narrower focus and the driving mechanics, to be blunt, as well as the denser map design. You can see lots of trees and stuff which you can drive into and drive over. The denser map design is really going to incentivize players to play much more aggressively in War Thunder Ground Forces than you see in World of Tanks. You see a lot of camping, a lot of sniping, a lot of long-range wait-and-see play in mid and upper-level World of Tanks gameplay. And I would love to see high-level, big brawler slugfests in War Thunder, where the incentive and the goal is all about aggression rather than about not dying first.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest flaws that the game's having right now, is that it's kind of more of a let's wait and see what the enemy does. There's nothing against that in the mechanics and gameplay mode, but like you said, having just giant massive tank battles is just what I would love to see. And the aesthetics of the game really would make that just pop amazingly.
Absolutely, and this game is beautiful, and I'm going to point out one of the things that's just happened in this video right here. You're shooting a downed airplane right now, it looks like.
Yeah.
What's one of the things that's great about this, I really like the manual repair mechanism. I think it's a cool way to have you be more engaged in what's going on with your tank. In World of Tanks, you get tracked, and you just sit there and wait, and sooner or later your crew fixes it. And the crew absolutely has an impact on the time that it takes, but you have to make the decision to repair. And it's a tiny little thing, and you're just going to be spamming you as soon as you feel yourself get tracked, but it's the little things like that that make this game more immersive, I feel, than World of Tanks does. Not just the perspective and the more rich world.
Yeah, it's more of a situation of, oh crap, I just got hit, I need to repair now, rather than World of Tanks. It's more of a, for me at least, it was, I got hit, I can keep going, and my repair crew will just repair it while I'm moving.
Well, when you get tracked in World of Tanks, obviously you're not moving, but even still, it's a very passive experience. It's well, I'm here for the duration. This is I have to repair, I'm looking at the timer, you have a clear indication of how long it's going to take, stuff like that.
There was one instance of a battle I did where I was playing as a tank destroyer. I can't remember the exact model, but it was one of the guys with the giant barrels, and I had rammed into another enemy tank and pushed him up against the wall and just started shooting at close range. I didn't realize at the time that I was actually going to take damage from that, right? So after a while, my turret actually exploded.
Like that in the game.
Well, after a while, my turret actually exploded and became an umbrella, and I couldn't use the turret anymore. And try as I might to repair it, I was like, nope, it's completely damaged. You can't do anything. And I was still alive.
But was your match over?
No, the match wasn't over.
I was driving around shooting.
I was allowed to drive around and do what little I could, which was pretty much just me ramming into people because it's War Thunder. That's all I do in that game anyway.
Yeah, I will say one of the things, talking about some of the stuff that makes this more immersive, one of the things that's really nice, I have to say, for sort of a playability standpoint, is most people who play World of Tanks at a high level, and I know we're talking about World of Tanks a lot, but it's the gold standard that this is going to be held against, so we kind of have to use some form of additional mod, right, to do stuff in World of Tanks. Most people use XVM to give them more information about what's going on. War Thunder integrates some of those functions around weak zones, things like that, into the targeting crosshair itself, which I think is just a nice way to sort of find a middle ground between playability, I mean this is a game, and immersiveness and simplicity. XVM can be a little bit overwhelming. On the other hand, the World of Tanks interface unmodded is quite sparse. I think this is a nice middle ground, and I really like that. Wargaming, or sorry, not Wargaming, the Gaijin rather, have seemed to look at what the community of World of Tanks wanted and made for itself to find ideas, of things that really ought to be in their game as features people want.
I think the UI for the game is really good. You know, you can see it's very simplistic. It's very clean and easy to see what is going on and what you need to do. My only complaint really is I wish the lower left icon, which shows your tank's health, was a little bit bigger, just because I have a hard time noticing it. But at the same time,
yeah, I definitely agree. Tank health is a thing. I'm the closest thing that I can relate to these games is the MechWarrior games, and MechWarrior is very clear about which of your shit is broken and which isn't, and I would love to see a little bit more of that from this and from World of Tanks, honestly.
One thing I do like is how it gives you a nice UI. It tells you, you know, if you hit something, and then, you know, in War Thunder fashion, it tells you how much points you earn. So you can see I'm making some money in the game with that.
Yeah, right up until you die.
Yeah. And this is a different battle, actually, because it's multiple fights I was doing in one night. And
now I haven't played this map yet. I'm liking the more open nature of this, at least in this area. That map that I played, that we've played before, is great, and I think it's really, really fun how condensed it is and the terrain and everything. But when we think tanks, right, we think Russians versus Germany, or we think big open fields, and we just think craziness, and this map really, I think, could become that with some higher level tanks.
Yeah, I think the map designs are pretty good. You know, obviously this is the beta, so there's going to be more adjustments and tweaks here and there. I'm a big fan of the maps. I like how it's openness, but you have the foliage like blocking you. And this is here me.
Absolutely.
And that was just me checking to see which tank it was, and it's the Panzer II. Can't remember the full official title, but
one of the things that I found playing this is that target acquisition is actually a challenge.
And that's the thing I really like, is it makes it so you can't just run and gun.
Yeah, but I think it's twofold. It makes it so you can't from a player perspective, but the mechanics somewhat incentivize you to, in terms of the need to conquer and sort of the way that the guns are set up. I think the mechanics incentivize that a little bit, but the engine and the environment makes it so that it's a challenge to do so. So if you're good and you can see, you know what you're looking for, yeah, go for it. But if not, you'll drive right past the guy that shoots you in the back as you run past him. And I think that that's a great balance for the game to have.
Yeah, I like how they do kind of provide a benefit for skilled players. They, you know, it's like you can have your advantage in skill, but, you know, it's also going to be easier for a new player to come in and at least shoot you once.
It shoot you once, and if the new player is just plain better, he will win. And I think that's a really cool thing that with sort of things like the calculated cover mechanics and stuff like that we saw out of World of Tanks for so long. I like this better. In those senses, I like this a lot better. And
one of my favorite parts of the game, to be honest, is the actual driving. I love driving the tank, and you'll actually see me do something pretty nifty here. It's actually going to kind of come up. So basically, when you keep going, you can slide and spin out. You kind of just saw me do that. I didn't realize tanks could do that in a game like this. I just assumed they were lumbersome and they couldn't. They had to have like really large turning radiuses and stuff like that. Not in War Thunder. For some reason, War Thunder tanks don't really need to do that, and that's what allows me to weave through those two enemy tanks, get behind them, and shoot them in the back. And it's, you know, it's that kind of like that benefit of the skill of I can drive better than those guys, so I'm rewarded for it.
Why don't I get put in matches with people who are that bad? Wow, that's really depressing.
In like 2 seconds, you'll see me shoot at dead carcasses, thinking that they're actually active tanks. So, you know, there's also that.
I look forward to your shenanigans. Is that what's happening here?
Yeah, this is what's happening here. I'm still shooting at it because I see the turret move. I'm like, oh, he's totally active, and then I just keep shooting at him because, you know, filthy Americans.
Well, I think honestly, I mean, we laugh, but this is a beautiful game.
Yeah, the visuals and the engine are just, it makes the
I could watch you
fun.
shoot a carcass all day. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you see part of a plane come crash. I mean, that's the next part of the War Thunder integration between air and ground that I'm really looking forward to, is having more air battles fought amongst the players and ground battles fought amongst the players, and having those two interact. There's actually like theories on various groups like Reddit or whatever about how best to do it, and I'm really looking forward to that. That's just a nice, fun, dynamic, massive fight that I want to have.
Now, the game isn't perfect. If you happen to be looking at that group of logs that tank just drove up and over, it sort of was a rather abrupt drive over the top, but this is a beta. Nothing's perfect. For its first days of open beta, this game looks great, and I am really, really excited to see where it goes. We saw War Thunder do very rapidly what World of War do better in many, many ways than World of Warplanes, and I am optimistic about what we might see from Gaijin as far as more effective combination. I think World of Tanks retains much greater depth due to its age, and I think what they do with Havoc physics this year will be really fascinating. But I think from a standpoint of getting a product in people's hands and getting it playable and it being fun, I think Gaijin's got the upper hand right now between those two. That wraps up this video. We appreciate you watching. For all your other gaming news and for more coverage of War Thunder as it starts to integrate those air battles and the ground battles, be sure to visit themitani.com.